Hello, my name is Alasia Sweet. I go by Allie, and I am a certified alcohol and drug counselor. I facilitated hundreds of groups per year for the past 3 years, and it has been a roller coaster, and there were some really fun parts. There are some low points, but the lowest points actually had nothing to do with the clients. It had everything to do with becoming very disenchanted with the behavioral health system. This video today is going to be addressing a very specific comment that I heard from a therapist that I actually look up to, who I worked with. Let's get straight to the point. This is about group facilitation and why facilities need to stop being lazy in terms of groups. Because if your whole program is based on groups, group counseling or group therapy, then you would think that that would be your main priority. But here's what that they said. I'm paraphrasing. Well, just let them start talking and they'll run their own group. Yeah, no. Let me give a little bit about my background because there is a unique part of my story. I have been through a lot in my life, and I've been very grateful and privileged to have had access to mental health resources, including going through a program where groups were the primary part of the program. When I got into the field of addiction counseling, I had some personal connection to it, and I started off in residential. The program was pretty much identical to the program that I went through. That really transformed things for me, opened my eyes, and introduced me to the group process. I really enjoyed the groups, and the experience that I had were something that I mentioned in a recent article I wrote about why I'm grieving being a group facilitator as someone who stopped doing groups recently. But number one, what I said, and I can't remember exactly how I said it, but I said some of the facilitators were naturals, some were innovative, I think I said, and then some were lazy or awkward. It was very clear to me who was preparing for the groups and who wasn't. And I also see that on the side of the providers, working alongside peers and colleagues, who's preparing and who's not. Now, I'm not saying you're going to spend hours outside of your dedicated work hours preparing for these groups. Not everyone's going to do that. I'm going to do that because I'm extremely passionate about it. And that outside work doesn't feel like work to me. It just feels like I am dedicating to investing in people's well-being, people who are taking the time and trusting me to be a part of this very, very sacred process of recovery. So it's not like that for me. But it was very clear to me, being in the participant side, who was just kind of jumping into it. And I honestly felt disrespected because I had to pay, well, someone helped me pay for treatment and health insurance. I don't even know what health insurance is. I truly don't know what health insurance is. But it's something that is expensive, and my insurance didn't even want to cover it, but I was in pretty bad shape. I really needed it. And so for me to be totally open to the process, for my mother to be involved in this process, I felt offended. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, what? You're wasting a day of my treatment here by just, I don't know when you came up with this. I don't know if it was 5 minutes before. I don't know, but it's very, very obvious. And I know this on the provider side, talking to so many clients. You just get to me. It's so important to connect with clients. I'm not fake. I'm very sincere in terms of, I just want to get to know you, in the context of a counselor relationship, nothing more. We're not friends, and I do tell them that when they try to get too friendly with me. We're not friends, but we have this bond. You're here. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to know you can come to me. But yeah, you would hear about the people who was very clear, like, this person, it's not really doing much in their groups. And for that to be the whole foundation of the treatment program, guys. So let's go back to what this therapist said. Just let them talk and run their own group. Okay. No. So no, this is not a lecture class. I do think that there is a huge, not only missed opportunity, but a very underwhelming amount of quality education that is presented in the groups. Now, again, it's not a lecture, but it's very clear that people are not taking time to actually educate themselves. And I know their workplace isn't educating them, and I don't know what they learned in school, but self education is important, or even just, you don't have to be an expert in it, but whatever your topic is, at least coming in and saying, so I was doing some research on this topic and I found these leaders. This is what they had to share. What do you guys think about this? They're not even doing that. So, anyways, underwhelming amount of quality education. That is a standard that needs to be raised in addiction treatment so much, because I know that clients appreciate it because they barely get it. And so, in terms of the people that I've seen actually doing that, the counselors that I've seen actually do that, which I don't even know why I'm saying counselors like it's many, it's very few. The clients would be so happy. The people in my group are just so happy, saying, wow, I'm actually getting so much out of this. We were not just chit-chatting for however long. And I don't want you to waste your time. I know that it's a sacrifice to be in treatment. I know, even though a lot of people would say, well, you need to be here, it's still a sacrifice. Economically, there are more pressures. There's a lot on the line. There's also people who still count on our clients while they're in treatment, and that could be tricky in terms of setting up boundaries. But guys, it's not okay to just jump into any sort of group. Not okay at all. And the fact that, this therapist who I look up to, and I still do, they're good at what they do. They don't do groups. They do like one-on-one sessions. The fact that they said that, now I know for sure, just working in this field, when these therapists hop into the groups, they just squirm, because it's a lot different. You really have to have a very broad skill set. There's multiple skills that are going on at once during a group. First of all, you have to be completely confident and very regulated yourself. You have to have a certain amount of experience with many different kinds of people, or be open-minded, because you're going to be getting a lot of personalities. So if you're a very closed-minded person, that's going to show up in your group, because you're not going to know how to connect with everyone. And I'm not talking about tolerating disrespect or even just going along with anything, but there's a certain openness that is it's an art and it's a practice where you can maintain boundaries but still be completely open, especially to just different perspectives. And in terms of the boundaries things, yeah, these therapists do not know how to do that. Not at all. With their boundaries, when they think that setting boundaries is not trauma-informed care, and I'll tell you that the therapists I've come in contact with don't actually know what trauma-informed care is. Trauma-informed care is understanding that the experiences that people have been through create certain ways that they think, behave, and feel now. And so it's really important to be mindful of how you're communicating with people and the environment that you're setting up. And one aspect of trauma-informed care is actually treating clients with dignity and understanding what they are sacrificing and how much vulnerability it takes to participate in these groups. So if you're just jumping into it, and you're also, one of the things that I've seen with therapists on the client side and on the provider side, as a client, as a provider, this whole thing of jumping into a group and wanting the clients to make your job easier. If you can't do the group, just say for that day, you know what? We're going to actually postpone this group because I totally forgot I have to go check on something. It's better to do that because, oh my gosh, my earring just fell. It's better to do that because it's so obvious when you are just trying to pull things out of the clients to make your job easier. Now, if you're struggling to connect, that's a deficit on your part. And let me be clear, I've facilitated groups in many places. I've encountered some weird situations, like some weird facilities that I'm like, this is crazy. But that wasn't the majority. And even in those situations, I can imagine the people that I've experienced as peers and colleagues and as a client, they would have just, I don't know what would have happened to them in those situations that I was in, because yeah, some very odd things that I'm just like, whoa, what's going on here? But the preparation is what keeps you grounded. So I'm going to give you some tips to prepare. I'm going to keep it short here. If you want to go deeper into this and need personalized guidance, or you need training at your facility in terms of group facilitation, not if you need, if you're interested, because all the places that I've either worked at, participated in groups myself, or guest facilitated, independently facilitated, they all needed it. So let me not say if you need it. Let me say if you're willing to invest and you find it, if you're just willing to invest. A lot of people aren't willing to, and they could care less. That's just the truth of the matter. Number one, so you got your topic, right? Most facilities have a topic. Number one, you need to bring in a little bit of education, a little or a lot. Not that you're going to talk at clients the whole time, but decide how much education you want, but have some sort of basic education. So let's say one of my favorite topics, codependency, which people think that they are experts in. I don't know why. I think it's because people throw that word around a lot. Do you know the history of how that term even came about? It was actually more for the sides of families of addicts. Do you know the history of that term? Do you what are, and by the way, you can't be an expert on every topic on the schedule. Matter of fact, you're probably an expert at none of them. That doesn't mean you're not going to be a good facilitator. You need to know something, but you're probably not an expert on all 30 topics that they have for each day of the month, right? So you take the topic and do a little bit of research on the history of it. Maybe bring in a very short video. If you bring in a short video, type out some discussion questions. What did you think about this? Take some notes on the video yourself. After hearing what the clients say to each question, share your thoughts on the exact same question. Or even as you're presenting the question, say, hey, from the video, can you identify some ways that your family members actually have been codependent? For example, and then you could say, for example, I've seen in families who are family members of folks in recovery that they don't know how to say no, or they feel very guilty. Have you guys experienced that? Have some sort of basic level of basic education. Or you could bring in like an article, a very simple article, and say, hey, understand where the source is coming from. Don't bring in a journal article, but bring an article saying, hey, this was a fun article or interesting article I found on Psychology Today. I want to go through a piece of it. I'm going to read maybe like 3 separate parts of it. Give some background about the article, what it's actually about, so they can discussion questions. So, and just prepare some sort of basic education and base your group off of all of that. And you don't have to take a long time about this, and you don't have to pretend to be an expert in it when you're not. You're probably not. And you can, with boundaries, talk about your experience with this topic. And that's something pretty unique to the field of addiction treatment. I think some people go way too far with it. Actually, I know this because I witnessed it a lot. But yeah, so number one, have some basic level of education. And this earring, oh my gosh, keeps falling out. Maybe I'm not going to take them off. I just need to stop hitting it. I think I'm going to give you one more tip. I'll save the rest. By the way, I do training for facilities, but also I do one-on-one consultations for providers. So if you're a therapist, counselor, other medical professional, social worker, if you work with clients or folks who are chemically dependent and you need some guidance, feedback from someone who's been working with hundreds of patients each year, just reach out to me. Go to seedsofgenesis.com. So another tip too is be creative. Okay, let me not be too shady. So I am on the kind of very extreme end of creativity because I'm just a creative mind kind of person. That's just me. I I write, I sing, I love creating graphics online. I've always created videos. I do a lot of stuff. I recently created a script, a short film script. So I'm just a creative individual. My standard, I don't make my standard anyone else's. But just take the topic, take your basic education, and this is the only question you need to ask yourself. What kind of activity could I use to demonstrate one point in this topic? Like just one point. So to start off with this, or to dip your kind of toes into this idea of the creativity and the activities, take activities that already exist. I don't think this one would be a good one, but musical chairs. One that I like to do was bingo. That was a very, very basic one. Bingo. Take a word search or something that is already an activity or something that you have already done or that you're familiar with. It could be some sort of other game. It could be hot potato, telephone, anything like that. Don't do it like the whole group, but take one point from your education and make an activity from that. Nowadays, and honestly, I just roll my eyes at this and I cringe. People are using ChatGPT to actually, like they're actually preparing for groups now, like they should have been doing this whole time, but they're using ChatGPT. I guess, sure. And I'm sure you could come up with some ideas on AI, whatever AI resource you use. You could, here's a prompt. I could give you the prompt because I understand how AI works. So, you have the input, but a good kind of input would say, hey, we have a topic about codependency. One of the things I'm going to be teaching on is how to set boundaries with people you feel obligated to give things to. What are some activities I could use for this? One that I would stay away from is role play. That is one that even a lot of therapists cannot pull off. First of all, it could get into psychodrama, and if you're just a certified counselor, that's not something you can really do unless you are co-facilitating with a therapist. But even therapists really go wrong with that. They just think, oh, I'm just going to do a psychodrama. It could get very intense. Any sort of role play, I would stay completely away from that. But yeah, put in your education, say, how can I demonstrate this in a very simple activity, one that's easy to explain, because that's the one key. It has to be easy to explain. It has to be easy to execute. And this is another piece missing. People don't prepare for their group, so this usually isn't something they think about. Get feedback from others and get feedback from other skilled facilitators, not facilitators who don't care about their groups and will just 5 minutes before think of a question and walk in. And then their groups are all over the place. The people are running their own group. That's insane. Don't waste people's time, okay? People are coming into treatment. It's a difficult time, right? So get feedback from, you could even get feedback from like other professionals, just people who really care about care about client care, quality. Oh my gosh, I'm tripping over my words. They care about high quality client care. And it honestly doesn't even matter what field they're in, but especially a counselor, just get ideas, because getting a perspective from someone who, has a high standard, but they're in something different can make you think of something, because it's not about them telling you how to do it. It's just about figuring out, are there any holes in your activities, or are there things that might not work? It has to be a very simple activity. Otherwise, that's a whole nother subject about how activities can go wrong. So I'm going to keep this video short because it's getting a little bit long, but thank you for watching. Send this to all the people working in addiction care that because I know this is a problem. I've seen it. I've been at many facilities. I've talked to many counselors. I've been on the client side. I know people who have gone through recovery programs. I have an understanding of it from so many sides. And this is one thing that really gets on my nerves, because we need to step it up as a field. So Thank you. Please visit again seedsofgenesis.com for more information, more tailored support.